Canaanland Moors presents Common Sense Quickies. What we do here is we add some common sense thinking to everyday situations or comments that may arise. Want to give it a try? What does Moor mean? This has been a question that many of our people have asked. The problem is that many of our so-called scholars have said that Moor means black when the origin of the word did not. So let's quell this once and for all. First off, let's start with our Superman, our Kal-El, our PhD in Moorish history scholar, Dr. Ben, and hear what he says.
There came a time in 1506, after we lost power in Spain. The Africans ruled Spain from 711. We were calling ourselves Moors, M-A-U-E-R-S, then M-O-O-R-S.
Dr. Ben said we were calling ourselves Moors, M-A-U-E-R-S, then M-O-O-R-S. Many people are familiar with M-O-O-R, but not M-A-U-R. If we go to the Hieroglyphics Dictionary by E.A. Wallace Budge, we find that the word Moor, M-A-U-R, is in the book. The meaning is stated as Palermo Stele, the title of the high priest of Anu. So first off, Moor, M-A-U-R, was on the walls of ancient Hicupta, aka ancient Kemet/ancient Egypt. Second, if we do some research, we find out that Palermo Stele actually means Palermo stone. And this stone was given this name because it was removed from Egypt and brought to a museum at Palermo, Italy. It is also known as Royal Annals of the Old Kingdom in ancient Egypt. If we research this stone deeper, we find out that this stone deals with the first 5 dynasties of ancient Hicupta, aka ancient Kemet, aka ancient Egypt. So that means that the Palermo Stele deals with the Egyptian dynasties from 3100 BCE to 2325 BCE. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica website. This is from the ancientpages.com website. And check out this PDF on academia.edu for more information as well. So now, let's use some common sense. If we look back into history, the word Moor, M-A-U-R, pops up in Mauritania, Mauryan Empire, and Societas Republicae y Almorecanos Estados. The Mauryan Empire, under Chandragupta, is listed from about 321 BCE to 185 BCE. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica website. This is from the ancient.eu website. This is from the Wikipedia website. Then there is the Societas Republicae y Almorecanos Estados, which is Latin for the United Association of the Republic of Almorecanos, or the United Republic States of Almorecanos. This is the title of the North American government before the arrival of the Europeans. Next up, all of northern Alkebulan, aka Africa, was known as Mauritania at one point, and this was since 300 BCE. This is from the Wikipedia website. Let's read some of what is said about Mauritania. Mauritania is the Latin name for an area in the ancient Maghreb Tamazgha. It stretched from central present-day Algeria westward to the Atlantic, covering northern Morocco and southward to the Atlas Mountains. Its native inhabitants, semi-nomadic pastoralists of Berber ancestral stock, were known to the Romans as the Mori and the Masazili. Now let's scroll down a bit and see what it says about the Mori people. Mauritania existed as a tribal kingdom of the Berber Mori people. Mori is recorded as the native name by Strabo in the early 1st century. This appellation was also adopted into Latin whereas the Greek name for the tribe was Moruzi. The Mori people would later bequeath their name to the Moors, M-O-O-R-S, on the Mediterranean coast of North Africa from at least the 3rd century BC. The Mediterranean coast of Mauritania had commercial harbors for trade with Carthage since the 4th century BC, but the interior was controlled by Berber tribes who had established themselves in the region by the beginning of the Iron Age. Well, this is interesting. Once again, the Mori people would later bequeath their name to the Moors, M-O-O-R-S, on the Mediterranean coast of North Africa from at least the 3rd century BC. What does bequeath mean? Bequeath, verb, leave property to a person or other beneficiary by a will. He bequeathed his art collection to the town, pass something on or leave something to someone else. He ditched the unpopular policies bequeathed to him. Interesting. So that ties into what Dr. Ben was saying when he said,
We were calling ourselves Moors, M-A-U-E-R-S, then M-O-O-R-S.
Dr. Ben said we were calling ourselves Moors, M-A-U-E-R-S, then M-O-O-R-S. So common sense should tell us that the knowledge from the high priests of Anu at some point started to spread either through some of the priests leaving Hikupta, aka Egypt, and then spreading their wisdom, and or people coming to Egypt to gain this knowledge through the Egyptian mysteries system, and then going back to their respective areas and teaching others. Hence why all of North Al-Kebulan, aka Africa, Southwest Asia, and North America all bore the word Moor, M-A-U-R, in their titles. Only a few were privileged to learn the mysteries system. So once you quote-unquote graduated from your 40-year study of the mysteries system in Hikupta, aka Egypt, you became a high priest of Anu, aka a Moor, M-A-U-R. So to be clear, the knowledge of the Moors, M-A-U-R-S, at some point started to spread since BC times. And common sense should also tell us that if they all bore the same title, they must have been unified. And because the high priests of Anu, aka Moors, M-A-U-R-S, were very dark-skinned, when they engaged the Europeans took the title of Moor, M-A-U-R, and gave it the meaning black. And that is what you see in the European language dictionaries today when it says Moor, M-O-H-R, Moro, Moor, M-O-R, etc. It goes back to the Latin word Morus, M-A-U-R-U-S. This is from an old German etymology dictionary from 1883. The translation: Moor, M-O-H-R. The M stands for masculinum, which is masculine noun. Schwarze is black. Aus M-H-D, which is from Middle High German. A-H-D is Old High German. Moor, then also masculine noun. Aus M-L-A-T, which is from Medieval Latin or Middle Latin, morus. Moor, M-O-H-E-R. Auch is also. F-R-Z is Französisch, which means French. Moor, I-T-A-L, and S-P-A-N is Italian, and Spanish, Moro. So as you see, Moor in German, French, Italian, and Spanish all go back to Medieval Latin or Middle Latin, Morus. So there you have it. When you say that Moor, M-O-O-R, means black, you are literally using the European definition as they understood it. That is what Morus, M-A-U-R-U-S, in Middle Latin meant to the European. However, Moor, M-A-U-R, in ancient Hikupta, aka ancient Egypt, was on the walls, and it went back to at least the first 5 Egyptian dynasties, 3100 BCE to 2325 BCE. Its meaning, the title of the high priest of Anu. And these high priests of Anu, Moors, M-A-U-R-S, later left their knowledge to their beneficiaries, Moors, M-O-O-R-S, when Hikupta, aka Egypt, began to fall, and the Moors, M-O-O-R-S, became the custodians of the ancient Egyptian knowledge. So, the meaning or etymology of Moor, M-O-O-R, is Moor, M-A-U-R. the title of the high priest of Anu. Oh, and side note, notice how Moor, M-A-U-R, appears on 3 different continents from since BC times? Chapter 47, anyone? Common sense was made before book sense.
Bet they won't.
Was the Epstein files a cover-up for the UFO disclosure?
No, are they one and the same? Because this is actually part of the Epstein files. Because part of the Epstein files is that humans ain't even running this shit at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah. So the Epstein files is actually the cover-up of the UFOs, and the UFOs is not the cover-up for the Epstein files. They rather to tell you that your government is a group of elite pedophile cannibals than to tell you that the mother plane is sitting right there over the Gulf cloaked.
What? Show me the mothership hovering cloaked somewhere. And then if you know so much, how come we don't just go to the mothership? Get the hell out of here. What are we wasting time here for? No, you know, we know the mothership's right there. So why don't they just come start the stuff or end the stuff or do whatever they're doing? They're just sitting there cloaked. You're the most intelligent beings in the universe and all that stuff, and they're staying there cloaked. That's what's going on? That's what gets your attention now? What happened to the golden age of the Moors and all that? What happened to the wonderful Ethiopians and all that? What happened to all that? Getting hyped because of a cloaked spacecraft? And if it's been there, and then they're gonna show you the giants walking around and all this, then what's going on? Giant just walk by just to walk by? Then nothing else happened after that? Nothing? Cloaked UFO, and it's just sitting there? They're a big dummy? What are they just sitting there for? Watch who your teachers are. And as usual, they're going to take the master teachers, because you already know Phil Valentine's a L and all that. We already know he knows about more science. We already know because we paid our finance to bring him here. And he came here and he lectured and he told everybody who was at the lecture, make sure they support Moor Science Temple of America and make sure they support Noble Drew Ali and what Moors are doing. Because that's where it's at. That's the direction that this conscious whatever is going in. Go ask him. Phil Valentine L. Anybody who has his link, who has his IG, who has his whatever it is, go ask him who brought him here to this jurisdiction, Canaanland. And if he did a lecture and what he said about the Moors at the lecture, go ask him. Tell me about cloak BS, motherships and all this crap. Mothership is the higher self. Stop the BS. You tell me about cloak stuff outside of myself stuff. I thought we're supposed to be metaphysicians and all that. Brother Panic and all that stuff. What are you talking about some cloak stuff? Thought we're the master mind Stop the crap. The hell out of here. All you people who like to listen to these goofs that don't give you a reference point to go research. You're just listening to them talk BS. Man knows not by being told. Noble Drew Ali told you goofballs. Man knows not by being told. N-O-T and N-A-U-G-H-T. Man knows not by being told. You have to research and study. How are you going to research and study if they're not giving you no reference point? What's the reference point that there's some cloak stuff up there? What's the... Just sitting there, cloaked. Just sitting there. Children getting raped and all that stuff, and mothership just sitting there. People bombing people for no reason and all that stuff. Mothership's just sitting there. Not doing it, not intervening, just sitting there. Just looking at the children wreck the house up. Right? Just looking at the children wreck the house up, not saying anything. Right? And of course, fathership, he's not there. Because you already know with the black BS, the father is never there and all that. Right? So, fathership, just a mothership. There's a deadbeat baby mama ship just there. Not doing anything to help this heir running rampant on planet Earth. Mothership just sitting there. Really? You really think these beings that have cloaking technology and all that stuff can't fix these issues here? And if they're not, then what are we getting excited about them for? So getting excited because the European did something. We're excited because they did something for. Don't get played. Because they've been playing you. This is for the two in the back who know that something's wrong. Nobody has to tell them something's wrong. They already know.
I wanna mention the black woman, the black girl that committed, who committed suicide because she was cosplaying, and all the racist comments really got her depressed, and I think that's sickening. And you all sit there and tell me all you do is talk about race. I only talk about that continues. That's what I talk about. I talk about that's in my face. I talk about that continues to with me. You understand? So
how come black hasn't fucked with you yet? How come? How come? How come you have to bring some suicidal girl as if the black isn't why that's happening too? Why is she cosplaying? Why can't she be herself? Oh, because of her deadbeat whoever's that brought her up, messed up in the head. That was the last option that she had, to go commit suicide. Because black means death and all that. Why you cosplay? Why are you being something that you're not? Why? There must be a root cause to why these people keep wanting to be something that they're not. Because it can't be them. It can't be just they're like this. Because, majority of people aren't like this. Majority. Right? Majority of people know what nationality is. And they know what race is. And they know that there's an absolute big difference. And it seems like the people who are in the race stuff, they kind of have a worse off position than the people who are in the national mindset. And for somebody to have their own national mindset, Nigerian, and convincing some people that they should be black is fraud. Because he has a nationality. He knows he has a nationality. Oh, but because he was born in the United States, he's American. No, you're not. You are who your mom is. Who's your mom? You are who your mom is. You play all that patriarchal U.S. crap, all that they want. The real deal is he should be saying, yes, I'm Nigerian, and what you black people should be doing is you should get a nationality too. Why don't you go talk to the Moors? Because they deal with nationality. That's what he should be saying. That's how he should be talking. He shouldn't be pushing the black thing when he has a nationality. He has a nationality. And honors to your mom. There ain't nothing. You are who your mom is. That's just what it is. It's nothing. That's just what it is. Doesn't mean you can't know more science and study it and apply it and all that. It has nothing to do with anything. That's mindset. Totally different. It's your nation. And these people have, the real issue is them not bringing it up more often. They should be bringing it up way more often than they bring it up. But they won't. Mm-hmm. Okay, so for example, right? Your mom's Italian. That's nationality. Those people have a nation. They got a flag. They got all that. They got a culture. They got certain names. It sounds like, so you know that that's them. Certain things that belong to them. Right? And then when you trace that back, so there was dark-skinned people that were ruling there. That's not some dark-haired, dark-eyed population for no reason. But it goes deeper than skin complexion. It goes deeper. Right? Now your father is Jamaican. Everybody knows that's not Jamaica. That's a corporation, and an island isn't a nation. An island's not a nation. So what are these islands part of? What are they part of? Trinidad and Tobago, and certain ones could probably connect to broken off parts of South America somewhere. If we put Atlantis in there, then all this is really part of a landmass. This is the leftovers. Right. Well, those adjoining islands. What they join to? They're not just islands because islands have to be adjoined to the mainland. The mainland would have been Atlantis. Since Atlantis is there, the next closest thing would be Morocco, which is the whole North, South, Central Americas. And then in this, so the connection to you being Moor is there. Okay, so now, are you going to go around talking about you're Italian and Jamaican now? When you know what it is? And if it all goes back to the Asiatic woman, then why is there wars? We're all brothers and sisters and all that. Because of confusion. Because of traitors. This guy said he did something, he didn't really do it. The guy took it funny, now he's gonna go bomb him for some BS. Just because, that's the level that they're at. On our little low level, you might slap somebody or something. On the big level, whatever issue you're having with somebody, multiply by that and look at what's going on in the world today. The guy said something crazy, he's going to go drop a bomb on somebody. Just because they have bombs to do that with. You know, it all comes down to nation. It all comes down to nation. Once you know the truth about not just your nationality, but the truth about nationality, period, it gives you a lot more to work with. Under the brands, there's nothing to work with. There's nothing to work with. Hey, draw us, and they just put you at a table with nothing in front of you. Be the owl when it comes to your nationality. You know, see that 360 degrees. Don't look at it from, you know, just what you see going on out there. You know, it's yours. Look at it like take some responsibility of it. You know, hold yourself accountable to it. It's your nation. And that's the common thing, you know. What are you doing for your nation? Well, the Moors should have it, and the Moors should, and why didn't the Moors claim this, and what happened to you? Those days are gone. You're the Moor now. So what are you gonna do with it now that you know that you're a Moor? What are you taking and doing with it? Because remember, the only other option is going back to dealing with the BS like these people. Making it their mission to keep that Negro, black, colored, African, whatever, alive. Indian, tribal, whatever, keep all that alive. Because they know. They know.
As much as I defend black Americans, I get stuff where they'll go, you're not black American, you African. Right. And I go, eat a dick? How about that? That's what I do. Because I'm like, what are you talking about? I grew up in Chicago. Yeah. That's a very black city. Mm-hmm. Chicago's history of black Americans is heavy. Jack and Jill, you got the Chicago Defender. A lot of stuff started in Chicago.
Okay, so if you're bringing up Chicago Defender, you're going back to at least 1920s. 1920s, Chicago Defender was around. Do you know the most written about Chicago Defender? The most written about were the Moors. Go check. Chicago Defender covered Moors more than anybody else in Chicago in the 1920s. Keep in mind, the founder had the Noble Drew Ali mustache and all that. We're not even going to go there. We're going to leave that alone. But you can't mention Chicago Defender and not have Noble Drew Ali on your mind. Because to know about Chicago Defender, you would have went and read the articles. It's not just a mention. You would have had to have read Chicago Defender articles to be talking and knowing the importance of Chicago Defender in Chicago. All these people study and know what's up. Right there, he should have brought it up. Right there, he should have brought it up. Chicago Defender, and they used to cover the Moorish parade, the Moorish convention. If you want to go see all the pictures, you gotta go get the Chicago Defender archives. That's how he should be talking. And using his nationality to assist the Moors. Right? To assist.
You know, the Obamas, Minister Farrakhan, he's like Nation of Islam. There's so much jazz, just so much in Chicago. And my father was an educator for 45 years at Malcolm X College. You know what I mean?
That's pretty black.
Yeah. Taught on the west side of Chicago.
Right. Yeah.
So, because you're born a Walmart doesn't make you Walmartian. Stop the crap. David Banner meeting Brother Abdullah with his book, but still teaches our people are black. Yeah. How? And if it was Moors and Masonry, there's no way he should be talking black still. There's no way. Because we're past them doing something, right? These people have already sold out. They already took their position. Their position is keep the Negro, Black, African, Indian, whatever alive, and don't bring up Moors. We're not talking about that stuff. And then when you check, you see the people who got blackballed, right? They got blackballed when they brought up Moors and all that stuff, and how they get treated. From authors to entertainers to athletes to wherever you want to go. Right? You're not bringing up Elijah Muhammad and all that stuff. There's no way you're bringing up Elijah Muhammad and don't know about the Moors. No way you're bringing up NOI and don't know about Moorish Science Temple of America. There's no way. Because everybody who's a real scholar and has put out literature has made it clear and plain that the pre-activity to the Nation of Islam, which was started as the Temple of Islam, Allah's Temple of Islam, was Noble Drew Ali and what he was doing with the Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Divine and National Movement. Everyone that does research, you're going to bump into Noble Drew Ali if you research NOI for real. Anyone and everyone. There's no way that they didn't bump into that picture with Elijah Muhammad with a fez on. That NOI actually buried. Because a lot of NOI, they found out about who the Moors were and stuff like that. They had certain stuff and they put it in circulation. So it's out there. Because majority of people, if they're not old enough, they see that, they'll think that that's some NOI started stuff. No, it's not. Everything came from what the Moors were doing. That's where it all came down. Oh yeah.
You can't make this stuff up. The NBA is replacing Atlanta's Magic City Night with Israel Appreciation Night on March 16th. Here's what Adam Silver had to say. The NBA is meant to be appreciated by adults and children alike. Magic City Night is not the message we want to be pushing towards these children, so we figured why not replace it with something more fitting. Now, if you don't know, Magic City Night is when Atlanta Hawks were going to play Orlando Magic on March 16th, and it was going to be named after the iconic strip club in Atlanta. How fitting for the NBA. Instead, Adam Silver, who is Jewish descent, decided it would be a better time for Israel Appreciation Night. Isn't that convenient?
Interesting. So it's not Jewish Appreciation Night, but it's Israel Appreciation Night? It's not the same though, is it? It's not the same. Those aren't the same. How come no mention of the Z people? How come you're not mentioning them? Interesting. You gotta say Moorish Zionist Jews. You can't just use the Z only. Just like black, you have to put more on it. No, same thing with Jew. You gotta put more on it. And the only way the Z could work is if you say Moorish Zionist Jews. You can't say the Z by itself. That's not where it's at. That's what this appreciation night is about. The Z people. Don't you see? Tell me if this isn't slavery. The black guys been playing for years, right? They dominate the league. One night, they want to have their lemon pepper wings or whatever. It's just lemon pepper wings. It's lemon pepper wings. All the strippers will be dressed and all that stuff. Nah, you can't have that. No lemon pepper wings for you people. But, to replace that, we're gonna just do a Z night. Honor of the Z's. And then they still went and go played. That's called slavery. So I just went and played like it's nothing. That's slave trade. You see how slavery works? The key to slavery is getting the Moor to recognize that they're a slave. And calling you Indian, Negro, black, colored, etc. is to get you to be a slave. You don't want to be a slave. You want to be connected to a nation. That's the only way. You have to be connected to a nation. Well, not the zombie, the Moorish Zionist Jews, but not with the Moorish Jews part. Those Z people. Because that's really the ones that, they're talking about. Because they have some Ashkenazi Jews who they're not with the stuff that's going on with the Blue Star people. They're burning their stuff. That's some Ashkenazi Jews. Some Ashkenazi Jews who are for right. Looking pale just like us. Scared pale. Study. Study.
We can't get reparations because we haven't been officially classified as a nationality. African American is not a nationality. Black is not a nationality. So you can't give reparations to people who don't have an official nationality, a flag, a constitution, and you have a seat at the UN. You know what I'm saying? We can.
So they know all that. They know all that. So if they know all that and you don't know, you're in trouble. You better go start studying something or looking up something or something, because that's your boy. That's your boy. You want to hear? Let him tell you again.
Can't get reparations because we haven't been officially classified as a nationality. African American is not a nationality. Black is not a nationality. So you can't give reparations to people who don't have an official nationality, a flag, a constitution, and you have a seat at the UN. You know what I'm saying? We can't get reparations because we haven't been officially classified as a...
Well, the king of the South, ain't it? That's him. Tip, right? If he knows that much, even if we say that little, if he knows that little, there's no way that you shouldn't know. If he knows that you need a flag, you need a constitution, black doesn't have those things, so we can't be that. African American doesn't have those things, so you can't be that. And the founder of that's dead, so that stuff is dead. That's done for. They know. They've been telling you. They've been waving it around a little bit to try to see if they can get your attention. If you don't pick up on it, it's on you. Because you're supposed to be at least at the level to get what he's saying. And stop for a second while you're standing there like, yeah, black isn't a nationality. And then that should be on your mind all the way home. Like, how the hell don't I have a nationality? That's right. Because, that's tip. Then you're going to go put some tip in, and you're going to roll up or whatever like that, and then you're going to start going in the rabbit hole. Then all those people from this time to now, all those people say they rap for him and all that stuff, that's their boy and all that stuff. Well, forget all the music and all that BS that he did, where he never mentioned none of this. This should have been the primary focus. Forget all the music, because the music he's not talking about this. So forget all that. That was just wasting time. Because all the music should have been had that in it, if that's the case. Every song should have been relative to that. But no. Gotta meet the people where they're at, because the people are returned, so we gotta reach everywhere. No. I'm not meeting everybody where they're at. Because the R word people are supposed to be smarter than everybody else, actually. So stop the BS. But it's all right. It's all right.
You're saying the head of the Christian church, Pope Nicholas at the time, that's who instituted the systemic.
That's right, the legalization, because you have to remember, they had just come from under 700 years rulership of the Moors. In 1492, we had taught that 1492 was relevant to Columbus discovering America, but 1492 is relevant to the last African ruler ruling any territory in Europe, meaning we fell. Granada fell, Madrid had fell, And so Seville had fell, and so the last African king handed over to a Christian ruler, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, and that was in 1492. And immediately they handed power over to the Pope, and that made Christians rule Europe again, and they expelled all the Moors. And with that, they started the expeditions down into West Africa, and that culminated in the Pope actually criminalizing being African. If you were found to be an African and you were not Christian, you could be murdered.
You're saying the head of the.
So all of them know, right? So in the African tour and the Ghana and all that stuff, they're gonna tell you about the Moors. About the Moors rule, and then you fell into slavery. And then you got sent over and all this. Now, leaving out the part of you realizing that Bo Abdul is a sellout and just leaving, right? Because we have boats and all that stuff. What we need, we're the Moors. Like, what are you talking about? Whoever had their boat, they got on their boat and they went to the next landmass. Because you're going to tell you about Mansa Musa with his fleets of boats and all that. Okay, you think it's just him only? You really think it's just him only? Or just one Moor is the richest Moor on the planet? You don't think that there's many of those Moors all over? Right. Like when they say we're the gods of this realm, it's for real. It's not a joke. But know that those gods were Moors. They were black guys. Those high scientists and all that weren't Africans. I know there's the king again, don't forget. So, these people know. They know. And this was everybody who was sitting there. We're not even saying they have to go into the history and all that stuff. But just the mention of Moors, anybody talking, they start mentioning Moors, and then they don't keep going with Moors, then you know that there's an agenda. They're trying to help you out. They just gave you a little piece. Because unless you're a Moor, you don't talk about the Moors like how Moors are supposed to be talked about. It's always some black African scholar, whoever, with some honorable mention bringing up the Moors in some passing conversation. Right.
Keep thinking that these are two different people, right? That's like saying a mom in England is different from a mom in America. Like,
that's the best one yet. Are mom and mom two different people? Are they? If they're not, then that Moor and Moor and all that BS is BS. Because you don't have two moms. You have one mother, and her nickname is Mom or Mom. Let me throw Mam in there. M-A-M. What about those ones? How come you're not bringing up those? Where are the people who are saying that we're Moors, M-O-R, and that's it? Where are they at? You hear them talking about, oh yeah, this is how you spell it, M-O-R, because the M-O with the R next to it gives it the special essence of, no. It's that simple. It's the same people. There's no M-U-U-Rs and M-O-O-Rs. That's people just talking crazy. Because if they see, people like to take the bad and stick it under something, pretend like it doesn't exist, and act as if, you know, they're pristine. Then you're supposed to put the good with the bad so you can know what to get rid of. So they all like to talk about the Moors only in this, you know, built Alhambra, and they don't want to get down and dirty with the Moors and talking about us going back and forth in the Atlantic, trading Europeans and all that. They don't want to go into all that. They don't want to go into us even being on such a super galactic egomaniac that you create another being to be your slave. And how dumb of an idea that was for the biggest headed guy. You're a dummy. Why would you, like, you didn't see that this would be happening right now? Smartest guy. How the smartest guy didn't figure out that, oh well, you know what, we're gonna make this Frankenstein right here. We're gonna lock it up in no, they're not gonna leave. Why would they leave the caves? You know what I mean? They're not gonna leave the caves. You know, no gates or nothing like that. Just stick them in a hole and say they're gonna stay there. Yeah, Planet of the Apes and all that. And then they came down, and then they got with the human beings, and you know, and eventually by, you know, Planet of the Apes 8 or whatever like that, they have their own stuff, and all the humans are their slaves. They're running the show. Right? And then we thought the white man is a blah, blah, blah. No, you made them. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. Take responsibility for your stuff that you did. Since you want to be the gods, the black gods, or whatever. All right, well, the black god made this thing that we're dealing with right now. Smart guy. Why? Why do you have to do that for? You couldn't just pick that up by yourself and put that over there? You needed a slave to move that stuff for you? And then it's not like, you know, because the big-headed scientist, right? So he's the man. How are you the man and you let this stuff run haywire like it's running right now? This mission should have been aborted when you had to take them to the caves. Right there, you should realize that, oh shit, this is not a good idea. So we got to take the bad as well as the good. If you take the black stuff, then you're just taking the bad. Slavery, racism, discrimination, all the... That's not where it's at. The ugly. We can't take that. We have to go for the good. And the good is knowing our nationality and our birthrights. Because we deal with other nations and they know what's up. They know when Moors come around, it's going to be different. And the repetitive theme with all the other nations is, why is it that you think like this, but other people who look like you don't think like this? Like, why don't you go tell them? We told them enough. How about you go tell them? But they can't, because they're under contract to be here as an immigrant. So they can't go to the indigenous people telling them what the game is. How do you think they get to come over here? The only way you could deal with the black guys is if they're giving you finance. That's the only way. You're not doing anything for them. You're not helping them. You're not going to bring your, religious whatever here, try to put them on and all that stuff. None of that. Only way you're engaging those N-words over there is if they're giving you finance. So you can get it back in taxes. Right. Because those foreigners know. They start talking about Moors, it's different. Talking with the black guys, they're playing, they're doing the Karen thing with them. See the black guys complaining now. How come they're getting treated like that by an immigrant? Yeah, because they learn from their colonial master or their colonial ally how to deal with the N-words. Oh yeah, and don't forget the bulletproof glass when you set up your little shop, because those N-words be wilding out over there. So, we'll give you all the funding for you to get all the bulletproof glass that you want. Security camera set up, little button that you could push lock the door or whatever. Whatever you need. We'll hook you immigrants up. But you're not, don't forget, you have to do it in the black guy neighborhood. Right. You gotta do it in the black guy neighborhood. You can't do it where we're at. You know exactly what they're doing. Exactly what they're doing.
Tell the truth. So do the research in international law. What so-called black people did a treaty or establish any government anywhere on the planet Earth? What black nation? There ain't no such thing. That's the whole point. So if China is enforcing a treaty with Russia or any other designated nation, do they say the yellow people? Or do they say Manchurian or China? Do you understand? The fact that our people are in mysticism with this whole black brand thing is amazing, that people can't think. Now you understand why they call war to the state? And also that hybrid European wrote that book, The Bell Curve, and say that these people can't think past the level of a monkey, and then our people get upset when he's actually telling them the truth.
He's actually telling the truth. These people are like beasts of the field. They're racist. That's racist. No, it's not. You are a beast of the field. Because only the beasts of the field will call themselves some BS. They wouldn't dare, would they? They have their position. You hear the cows meowing out there, trying to be something that is not. As I say, lower than the beast, because even the beast knows that it belongs to something that's specific to it. Yeah, and then never get mad at the colonists just for setting you up in the first place. Worse than the beasts of the field.
He's telling us there's so much on the spell, you just like Calvin Coolidge says. To give these niggers back Islam would be like putting a pair of pants on the horse. As long as I keep my schools and churches open, you won't get 500 to follow. And if you do, I'll back you with my army and navy. Of course, he got thousands, and of course, that's when the infiltration took place into the Moorish movement, which you'll see in the FBI papers, that some of these grand chiefs don't want to talk about.
But COVID has broken the spell for a lot of that. No.
COVID just did nothing.
Well, whatever this thing is happening.
No, it's not one thing.
Okay.
No, Dr. G.
Let's back off.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Let's stop putting the inanimate things and things that are engineered in front of the creators of it.
Do you think they meant to have people lose their
businesses, lives, and everything else?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that were mesmerized about going to church, mosques, and synagogues who now, after all of this.
That's a default situation. It's a default situation.
Okay, so in other words,
shut the hell up and let the master teacher teach.
Okay, they didn't mean to necessarily do that, but it happened.
Because this is what it is.
Shut up.
Their reign is over. They're making desperate moves. And in the process, also, let's look at this. For those who are looking at this issue that they're arguing with Trump. From a law position in relationship to that jurisdiction. At any time, Donald Trump, through his administration of portions who were put in place to so-called correct some of the corruption in these many subdivisional agencies, at any time could stop most of this stuff by indicting these people. Why is a lot of this stuff allowed to happen? So that the people can wake up, because they need to get kicked in the ass to learn. Because just like when you're talking about this constant thing of people knowing that we're not black, knowing black means spots, white spot and pale covers, and they're still trying to make it or argue that it's an African identity.
Right. Acting like it's an identity. When is it going to stop? When? How much of it? What's with the forcing? They're just forcing this thing, forcing it. It's not. The square's not going in the circle. Stop it. Just stop. Stop. You have to put the circle in the circle. Stop it. Slow down. Nah, it's gotta go. It's just gotta. Chipping up the edges of the stuff and all that.
It is etymologically not, historically not, and factually not. Do you understand? But yet they keep arguing it, which means they don't want to let it go. Do you understand? However, they want the rights that go with nationality and human rights. When black and Negro is not part of the human family. Moors, that's where the record shows who made the treaties. Who ruled the earth? Moors, not blacks. You see the point? So in order to try to justify themselves, don't black mean Moor? Don't black mean Sudan? Don't black mean Ethiopian? Don't black mean Eritrean? You notice how this dictionary with all these African words means black? In other words, they're trying to make it have a meaning that it has none. They're trying to connect it to it. You see the point? It's like, it's even a thinking person, a child can see that this doesn't make sense. They're saying that Ethiopia means black. Egypt means black. Sudan means, Nubia means black. People lying your asses off. There's nothing wrong with the word black, but it doesn't mean any of that. It means white spot and pale colors. That's what it means. Now, for those of you
who can read. I know a lot of people really can't. The rule is etymology. Go into a dictionary that has an etymology in the back of the dictionary, and go to a thesaurus or etymology dictionary and look up the word black. And it's going to tell you, it's not going to say proper noun, it's going to have adjective. Then it's going to take you to its origin, Middle English. Then it takes you to its High German origin, OHG. And then it's going to take you to the etymology root, which is Bhel, B-H-E-L.
Oh, we'll go again.
Tell the truth. So do the research in international law. What so-called black people did a treaty or establish any government anywhere on the planet Earth? What black nation? There ain't no such thing. That's the whole point. So if China is enforcing a treaty with Russia or any other designated nation, do they say the yellow people? Or do they say Manchurian or China? Do you understand? The fact that our people are in mysticism with this whole black brand thing is amazing, that people can't think. Now you understand why they call war to the state? And also that hybrid European wrote that book, the bell curve, and say that these people can't think past the level of a monkey, and then our people get upset when he's actually telling them the truth. When he's telling them there's so much on the spell, just like Calvin Coolidge says, to give these niggers back Islam would be like putting a pair of pants on the horse. As long as I keep my schools and churches open, you won't get 500 to follow. And if you do, I'll back you with my army and navy. Of course, he got thousands, and of course, that's when the infiltration took place into the Moorish movement, which you'll see in the FBI papers, that some of these grand chiefs don't want to talk about.
But COVID has broken the spell for a lot of that. No.
COVID did nothing.
Well, whatever this thing is happening.
No. It's not a thing.
Okay.
Let's back off.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Let's stop putting inanimate things and things that are engineered in front of the creators of it.
Do you think they meant to have people lose their
businesses, lives, and everything else?
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that were mesmerized about going to church, mosques, and synagogues, who now, after all of this,
that's a default situation. It's a default situation.
Okay, so in other words,
they set a trap and they step in it at the same time.
Okay, they didn't mean to necessarily do that, but it happened.
Because this is what it is. Their reign is over. They're making desperate moves. And in the process, also, let's look at this. For those who are looking at this issue that they're arguing with Trump. From a law position in relationship to that jurisdiction. At any time, Donald Trump, through his administration of portions were put in place to so-called correct some of the corruption in these many subdivisional agencies, at any time could stop most of this stuff by indicting these people. Why is a lot of this stuff allowed to happen? So that the people can wake up, because they need to get kicked in the ass to learn. Because just like when you're talking about this constant thing of people knowing that we're not black, knowing black means spots, white spot and pale covers, and they're still trying to make it or argue that it's an African identity. When it is etymologically not, historically not, and factually not. Do you understand? But yet they keep arguing it, which means they don't want to let it go. Do you understand? However, they want the rights that go with nationality and human rights. When black and Negro is not part of human family.
And Indian.
Moor is. That's where the record shows. Who made the treaties? Who ruled the earth? Moors, not blacks. You see the point? So in order to try to justify themselves, don't
black mean Moor? Don't black mean Sudan? Don't black mean Ethiopian? Don't black mean Eritrean? You notice how this dictionary with all these African words means black? In other words, they're trying to make it have a meaning that it has none. They're trying to connect it to it. You see the point? It's like, it's even a thinking person, a child can see that this doesn't make sense. They're saying that Ethiopia means black. Egypt means black. Sudan means Nubia means black. People lying your asses off. There's nothing wrong with the word black, but it doesn't mean any of that. It means white spot and pale colors. That's what it means. Now, for those of you who can read, I know a lot of people really can't. The rule is etymology. Go into a dictionary that has an etymology in the back of the dictionary and go to a thesaurus or etymology dictionary and look up the word black. And it's going to tell you, it's not going to say proper noun, it's going to have adjective. Then it's going to take you to its origin, Middle English. Then it takes you to its High German origin, OHG. And then it's going to take you to the etymology root, which is Bhel, B-H-E-L. And it means, in its multiple meaning, blanket, blonde, blank, pale colors, beluga, white spot. What does that have to do with Nubia? What does that have to do with Ethiopia, Abyssinia, Eritrea, Mesopotamia, Hittite, Canaanite, Moabite? Other than the fact that it is known in recorded history that the hybrid Europeans, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, designated Moors who were defeated or compromised as persons of color and or black Negroes. That's documented fact. Now, how is it that these people are black just because the hybrid Europeans who conquered them designated that under a caste system, which is a status, caste, not a pedigree identity? That's fact, not opinion. And the fact that people keep on trying to legitimize it indicates compromise, aside from ignorance that goes with it. Next. Tell the truth. So
next. Honors to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Honors to all the master teachers and all the students of the master teachers.
You might want to take a chill pill, all right? You would do well to mind your tongue, Moor.
Silence, Moor. Tell me, when will the Duke arrive?
Look like you can use some help. If you think I need help, you do not understand the game, Moor.
Moor? Well, I prefer lordship.
Mind your back, Moor.
It's the Moor!
So, now the Moor's a swordsman. Moor! Do you mock me?
Hey, you might want to take a chill pill, all right? You mock me, Moor.
You would do well to mind your tongue, Moor.
Silence, Moor.
Silence! Silence, Moor. You Moor. Happy Holy Day to all the Moors worldwide. We're here. We'll see how quick this beheading is before we get out of here. Honors to all the Moors in the chat. And then he has the 2 and the 3 for the 5 principles. Right. And then they're calling him Moor through the whole thing. No black guy. Right. And then majority of us, we look like Martin. So who they, do you think they're just talking to the movie only? Or they're talking to all you big dummies who are talking dumb when they talk derogatory about the Moors? See how he yelled at him? That means it's negative. Big dummy. You're a big dummy. I know you were that dumb. Thought you had at least a little bit of your thinking capacities, but no. Right? When they say pea-brain, these are the pea-brain people. Don't know jack about who they are. Everybody's telling them who they are. They don't want to hear what everybody's telling them. It is called Black Night, but refer to the main guy as Moors. Right? So it goes to, it's called Black Night, but they don't call him black in it. They call him a Moor. Night and knighthood and all that stuff comes from being a Moor, because you have to be knight. You have to be knight, like no sun. You have to be knight in order to be a Moor. Just like to be a samurai, you have to be a Moor. You can't be a black guy and be a samurai. And then just go ask Lupe and all that stuff, because he's studying and all that. Right? Ben told you people what's up. You're not serious. You are serious. How much more evidence you want? Still want more evidence still?
You're of course familiar with the Supreme Court decision in Dred Scott versus Sanford. Yes, sir. That decision held that African Americans, whether slave or free, could not be citizens of the United States. Is that correct? That is correct. By denying citizenship, the court also denied African Americans equal political rights, equal access to the courts, and equal protection of the laws.
Correct. They were denied all privileges and immunities that the Constitution affords to citizens.
Would you agree that the Dred Scott decision pushed the nation even closer to civil war?
It did, by invalidating the Missouri Compromise, among other reasons.
Many historians posit the decision in Dred Scott helped cause the Civil War. And when that bloody war, the bloodiest war in America's history, ended in 1865, the legal status of the newly freed slaves was far from settled. Mr. Worman, after the Civil War, was it clear as a matter of law?
So it wasn't settled. Because 1865, they're supposed to be free. But what's the slave gonna do? What did the slaves do in Django? In the last scene, when he left the door open, what did they do? They sat there, didn't they? What did the slaves do in the beginning of Django? After he murdered slave master, what did they do? Stood there, didn't they? Until one of them came to their senses and said, oh yeah, what the hell? So once you say you're free from slavery, then you're supposed to be acting free. If you're still acting like a slave, then obviously you're a slave. Don't blame the Supreme Court and the Europeans and all that stuff. Don't blame them. It's your status that's dead, which is why Dred Scott was plaintiff in error. Because you're a slave. Freedman and free man are two different men. Freed man is still a slave. He's been emancipated. And emancipation means transfer. So he would just switch from one slave master to the next slave master because he remained a slave.
That the freed slaves would necessarily enjoy the full rights of citizenship.
It was not if Dred Scott was still good law.
Congress understood the danger of that uncertainty, and if the Constitution remained silent, the rights of the newly emancipated slaves could be challenged, undermined, or even potentially stripped away by future courts.
Because of the status of the slave, not the judge, not the court, not the Constitution, it's because the status is a slave, and slaves don't have rights. I don't care how much they beg. I don't care how much they go to the highest law of the land and create something to give them rights. They're never going to have rights. That's not how rights work. Either you know your rights or you have zero rights. That's how it goes. So when they start pointing at modern Europeans and all that, well, look what they did to us and talking like that. When they start talking like that, know that something's up. Somebody's about to try to play you, keep you in a dead status so they could play you. It's all about getting out of the dead status. What do you mean? What's the dead status? Calling yourself Negro, black, calling yourself African this, continent that, calling yourself hairstyles, calling yourself islands, calling yourself everything that's not a nation. All that is the slave brands. That's all the slave brands. All of those. Because when you go check everyone else, all of them have one flag. They're not effing around like our people with 500 flags when they're one nation. None of them do this. Only our people do this. Only our people. No one else does this madness. Only those people misclassified as all these brand names play this game. Remember, Supreme Court, Dred Scott told you to your face, there's no rights that the white man is bound to respect from a with the hard R and all that. Nothing, you get nothing because the status, not because they use the hard R. And the system's working with them to, no, because your status. Enough with the boogeyman games. Stuff under the bed, you don't want to go look and all that stuff. Wake the hell up, stop the dumb stuff. Hell do you mean? Hell you mean something's under there? Mad.
That would mean that the blood shed in the Civil War was shed in vain. So Congress acted. In 1866, it passed the Civil Rights Act, declaring that the newly emancipated slaves were citizens of the United States. Mr. Worman, even after Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866, were there serious doubts about whether Congress had the constitutional authority to enact it?
Yes, there were.
And so Congress chose a more permanent solution. The solution was to write citizenship itself into the Constitution, so that never again could a court repeat the mistake and the gross injustice of Dred Scott. Also, the leading commentators of the period, like Alexander Morse, Francis Wharton, and George Collins, and the view of executive officials responsible for enforcing the law, including the Attorney General of the United States in 1873 and the Solicitor of the Treasury in 1889.
The consistency was remarkable, yes.
So would it be accurate to say that the view espoused by my Democrat colleagues that the 14th Amendment confers citizenship on anyone born on this land, whether here lawfully or unlawfully, temporarily or permanently, regardless of whether they owe allegiance to the United States, is a relatively recent view and directly contrary to the almost universal view at the time the amendment was ratified?
It's not at all clear to me when that view took root. The United States, in its brief to the Supreme Court, suggests during the administration of FDR, but it is certainly inconsistent with.
So while they're trapping you with some modern Europeans and looking at like that, right? What you're not paying attention to is the fact that this went to the Supreme Court, that these dummies are going to call themselves Negro, black, colored, slave, and all these other stuff, and want rights. Then fine, I'll let them do that then. And then we're going to go let Congress and Parliament of whoever and all the different corporate colonial jurisdictions continue to have their wards. It's just that the chains aren't on your body anymore. The chain is on your mind. Chain is on your emotions. Chain is on your actual soul. Chain has you, but you're not hearing any shackles. You're not feeling the weight of the chains, but they got you. And they had you locked in. They had you locked in. So once they had you locked into the Negro, black, color, or whatever, right? This is why we always give honors to Noble Drew Ali for canceling the hex that they put on our people by allowing us to have this open venue, free and clear, for us to be ourselves. Instead of being the whatever names that we were saying that we are, until we got to this. They say, well, how come they didn't tell us about this from back then, so we wouldn't stop calling ourselves this BS that we call ourselves today. When you realize that it's your own. There's no white man and all that stuff. There's no YT man and all that. Right? And all the dummies on everything now. You can't say it died because they're going to cancel you. So you stop the foolishness. Don't get locked into that Negro black stuff and all the other.
And I do got one more question. How did you get the name Papoose?
Well, when I was born, my grandmother felt like I resembled an Indian baby. So instead of saying baby, the Indians would say Papoose. So
and that's how you got the logo in the back. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's my logo. So she named me Papoose, and it's so crazy you said that because being here in America, we don't even know our history, where we're from, anything. And I recently found out my grandmother eventually died from cancer. So, Papoose was always my name. Like when I first went to school and I found out Papoose wasn't my real name, I was so confused. Because all my family members, everybody called me Papoose. So when they was teaching me how to write my name, I was like, what's this? I didn't even know my real name wasn't Papoose. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
Yeah, word. So when I came into the music business, I didn't want to make a fictitious name. My grandmother eventually died from cancer. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep my name, which is Papoose. And the reason why I said a lot about people don't know our history, I also found out that my grandmother was actually Indian. You know what I'm saying? So she named me Papoose. So it all made sense.
And I do got...
Interesting. You don't hear any Indians. You don't hear any Indians talking about going to the law library, though. Just remember, They know Indians go into no law library. Keep that in mind. And people want to play Indian games and try to use this and say we're Indians and all that BS. Because anybody who studies knows that Indians don't go to the law library. Indians don't even read. They just make their little feather stuff and dance around and all that. That's all they're about. So there's another tier, there's another level. There's another level. They really played you. They really played you. Really. Orientalism and identity in Latin America. Eric Freixas, Freixas. Conversely, the assimilation of old discourses into the new arena reached a point of reversal, a sort of counter-discourse, orientalizing the conquistadors, is seen in Las Casas and his followers. Bartolome de las Casas was an expert in such rhetorical reversion. He referred to conquistadors as tyrants, an epithet that the conquistadors themselves had previously used against the Inca rulers, meaning that they were illegitimate rulers. In the same vein, he found an effective device in his insistent assimilation of conquistadors and Moors. Las Casas' use of the term wolves of evangelical reference to describe the conquistadors, while Indians are tender sheep, also found in medieval chronicles with reference to the Moors. Indians with reference to the Moors. The people of Aritama, the cultural personality of a Colombian mestizo village, by Alicia Dalmatov and Geraldo Dalmatov. The term Moro, literally Moor, is commonly used when referring to an ancient Indians of the valley and the village. A Moro is a heathen, an unbaptized Indian, and expressions like in the time of the Moors, en tiempo de los Moros, cuando la morisca, are frequently heard when discussing the history of the region. The term Cimarron is synonymous with Moro, but is also used when speaking of Indians who, although baptized, live without maintaining any contact with the rural Creoles. Indian Captivity in Spanish America by Fernando Opere, O-P-E-R-E. The popularity of subject in other literatures. In areas most affected by Indian attacks like southern Chile, stories about captives were daily anecdotes of colonial life. Some of them, as we have seen with Lucia Miranda and Juan Barba, had become legends. However, in neither high culture nor the oral tradition of the Americas did the theme of captivity have an impact comparable to what it had in the Spanish Golden Age. With the exception of certain anecdotal connections, it is impossible to establish a direct influence in the treatment of the subjects on either side of the Atlantic. It is true that the equation Indian equal Moor appears in certain passages of colonial authors. Indians are called Moors in some Argentine chronicles and traditional ballads. In her novel, Lucia Miranda, Eduarda Mansilla transforms the Timbu chiefs, Mangori and Siripio, into North African princes. Indians are called Moors. But the Indian stuff is some modern stuff. Because everybody knows the Moors are ancient. And everybody knows the Moors traversed from over there, that's known as El Kebalan, to over here, that's known as Africa. And they've been going back and forth. They've been going back and forth so long that at one time the land was connected and we were going back and forth still. Every talk of somebody crossing some land and all that, going somewhere else and all that is all that. Just one landmass. People going back and forth. People that BS. Allah said, okay, fine. Crippled you. Now you got an ocean to deal with, and you see how you do for the next 24,000. Same people. No, of course, there's an ocean there, so these people on both these land masses are gonna change. That's just natural. But the bottom line is, pre these people being enslaved by some modern Europeans, they were known as Moors and they ruled the world for 800 years. And before that, they were known as Moors and they were high priests of Anu. Captivating Westerns, the Middle East in the American West, by Susan Colin. The fiction of Pulitzer Prize-winning winner Willa Cather, one of the region's most known and celebrated authors, reveals important traces of a Moorish presence shaping the cultures and histories of the American Southwest. Such elements are particularly apparent in Death Comes from the Archbishop, 1927, a novel that former First Lady Laura Bush herself once named a family favorite. The task of restoring to memory this history of transnational influence requires scholars to place regional studies into productive dialogue with other critical frameworks. Indeed, the project demands that critics suspend ideas of what counts as inside and outside, rethink narrow notions of East and West, and abandon preconceived maps of American spaces. A transnational reading of Cather's writings about the American Southwest allows critics to recognize a fluidity of frontiers and borders, to understand how imaginative and real worlds connect, and to acknowledge the ways the quote-unquote United States itself and the American Southwest in particular are indeed geographies that may be included in the so-called Arab and Muslim worlds. And that's just a paragraph. And then they go to the next section, the American West unmoored. Well, they know that they're bringing up stuff like that. And they're putting it out there so that you know. Once you're talking about American spaces, that's Arab and Muslim, which is Moorish. They just don't want to say Moorish. Because going back again to all these brand names, because they want to keep you in wardship. So of course they're going to call you Muslims and Arabs and Saracens and all that. Of course they're going to call you that. Keep you in the dead status. Because the only title that counts is Moor. Everybody else has a nationality. What's your nationality? Well, see, with my grandma, when she was, and you start talking crazy, you're done for. You called it on yourself. Blackface Maligned Race by Anthony Gerard Barthélemy. Anthony Gerard Barthélemy. Blackface Maligned Race. Attitudes toward black people in the 17th century were formulated in an environment that had not distinguished between the traditional Christian view of black people as devils and the then not entirely familiar African. In fact, the very word that was frequently used to identify Africans, Moor, reflects the conflation of the older views of blackness with newly acquired, though not completely accurate, information about Africans and their origins. Because Moor is so common and powerful an appellation, I begin the book with an extended discussion of the etymology of that word. Since the 17th century, Englishmen had available other words with which to identify black men, including Negro and African. Moor may have been chosen because it helped to distinguish in a more precise way something supposed to be essential about blacks and Negro and African did not. Moor was used because something about Moor didn't allow African to be used, and then you already know black and Negro is some BS. Moor. Readers of 17th century literature know that while blacks were called Moors, all Moors were not black. You heard that right? While blacks were called Moors, while blacks were called Moors, all Moors aren't black. Now keep in mind, White and black are statuses, not skin complexions. So once you get that through your head, they're talking about statuses. When they mention black and white, you look at this thing's totally different. You stop looking at skin complexion like Martin told you. You didn't listen to him, shot him in the neck. And then you're over here still playing the color thing? Playing around. In fact, almost anyone who is not Christian, European, or Jewish could have been called a Moor. I notice that they said Jewish, not Jew, right? Keep in mind. So they basically said European, basically. Anyone who's European, they can't be a Moor. Everybody else is a Moor. Those are readers of the 17th century literature know that, not believe, know that while blacks were called Moors, all Moors were not black. In fact, almost anyone who was not Christian, European, or Jewish could have been called a Moor. This includes Asians, Native Americans, Africans, Arabs, and all Muslims regardless of ethnicity. Of the Moors, we'll give you that one again. In fact, almost anyone who was not Christian, European, or Jewish could have been called a Moor. Anyone could have been called a Moor. This includes Asians, all of them, and then you go to the Sri Lankan Moors and Indian Moors, and you go, right? Asian, right? We talked about the samurai, the Japanese, Moor, samurai. Moor, why do you think Moor is in there? For no reason? And that's the M-U-R, Moors. And they're not talking about their Indians and all that. They're the one U Moors. They're the one U Moors. Not the two U Moors, the ones over here that are saying that they're fighting against the old Moors. No, those are the one U Moors. The one U Moors know that they're Moors too. In fact, almost anyone who was not Christian, European, or Jewish could have been called a Moor. This includes Asians, Native Americans, Africans, Arabs, and all Muslims regardless of ethnicity. Of the other Moors, I limit my discussion to Native Americans and North Africans to whom the term Moor is applied. The Native Americans are discussed exclusively in Chapter 3, and the North Africans in Chapter 6. These two groups are included because they were portrayed in a manner similar to the way blacks were portrayed, and because they share the perceived otherness that so clearly identifies blacks on the stage. Everybody knows who the damn Moors are. Everyone knows. Everyone. And they've been telling you, putting you on game, but of course, you know, you're not hearing what Moors are saying. Go listen to every other dingbat out there tell you BS with no references. Let's give you 5 that you can go check. Don't believe anything that's being said. No. And from those 5 references, you should know now that Indians are the MOORs. Can you hear them mention MUURS once up in these 5 references? Not once did they mention MUURS talking about America and Moors. Not once did they mention it. How much times do you hear me say Indians are Moors today? Not one of those was spelled MUUR. Not one. All of them were spelled MOOR. And like the Moor asks the big dummies, are MOM and MUM two different ladies? You have two moms, you're calling one MUM and one MOM? Better stop your BS. Because Moors, we study, we already know the game that these people are playing. These King Alfred whoever's. Trying to keep you in the Negro stuff. Trying to keep you there instead of you being free. They want you free. They want to keep you as a ward. You have a prophet, and he's the foundation. He's the foundation. All the whoever's that are talking about whatever are not. They're not it. Look. Right. USAR is going to use Noble Drew Ali's image for their tags that they're going to sell and give to their whoever's. But they're going to talk about they're not playing temple anymore. They're not temple anymore. They're some government or whatever like that, but they're using Noble Drew Ali. How they using Noble Drew Ali when they're not repping for Drew Ali? Because they have his picture? And they're using Farrakhan lecture because he's talking about, well, you got to get out of the church and you got to get out of the temple, and it's not about that no more. It's not about that. But he's standing there in the mosque, which is a temple, playing around. He's not going to mention nothing about the temple, about the mosque. Don't need that. You're not going to go there. But everything else you don't need. Be careful more. Some of your own want to put you right back into slavery. Happy Friday the 13th, holy day to all the Moors worldwide. Supreme honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Supreme honors. He put in his work. Honors to all the Moors in the chat. Keep enjoying your holy day.